Hello everyone, it is I, Dr. Jimmy again. I must first apologise for having taken such a long time since my previous video, which I think was... When was that? Was that in September or even earlier? It might have been in the summertime. At any rate, I'm here with you now to celebrate cocktails. Yes, because I still haven't finished all of my cocktail videos for Halloween Horror Nights 31, or for that matter, Halloween Horror Nights 30, or whatever the hell it was in 2020. It is 29.5. And it's now not even the Halloween season. As you can tell by the way I'm dressed, it's an entirely different holiday whatsoever, not one I'm usually associated with, although, when I stop and think about it, I am an authentic, jolly fat man with a white beard, so this really is a holiday you'd probably probably expect me to be more associated with than Halloween. Have you been naughty or nice? If you've been nice, well, I'll come bring you something wonderful like one of these cocktails. You've been naughty, I'll just call up on the phone my associate, Mr. K. You know, Herr Krampus. And he'll come and take care of you in his own way. Oh, yes. Well, now, tonight, I had originally planned to do 3 cocktails in one video, but the problem is that in between the various drinks, I need someone to go and to refill this with ice and rinse out my glass and bring back a fresh one or whatever, and I had someone, a jolly little elf, to be my assistant, but unfortunately they scampered off to learn how to be a dentist or something. Thus I'm... Actually, they're in New Orleans having a wild time this weekend. Going on ghost tours and hanging out in the bayou with Victor Crowley, I think. Oh, yes, I do fit this holiday quite well. I even have a fedora and a cane, just like, you know, the fellow in that movie, Miracle on 34th Street. Yes, although I've discovered a little bar right here in my own neighborhood. It's within 20 minutes walk from my house. It's called Miracle on Orange Avenue, and they serve Christmas-themed cocktails and snacks, and oh my goodness, it's lots of fun. I've enjoyed it tremendously. I highly recommend it. If you're ever up in this neighborhood, Winter Park, come and visit the Miracle on Orange Avenue before it goes back to simply being the Courtesy, although the Courtesy is nice too at the other time of the year. Oh, but so I'm only going to be doing 1 cocktail per video instead of trying to mash 3 into 1. So this will be shorter video and only 1 cocktail that will cover something that wasn't at Horror Nights 31, but was at Horror Nights 30, as well as being back in 2020, the year without Horror Nights. One of the haunted houses they had featured during daylight hours in the park back in 2020, and then in 2021 appeared again during the event of Halloween Horror Nights 30, without quite so much masking and plexiglass, although still not as fun as it would have been one of those, you know, fully free, the characters are in the same room with you sort of thing that you have available again this year. But so this is theme 2, and last time I did do a cocktail for that event and 30 as well as 31. Well, my original plan was to have two cocktails that were interrelated in a weird way. From 30, which was for the Tooth Fairy haunted house, Revenge of the Tooth Fairy, and the haunted house from this past year, the event that just ended last month, which was, or just a couple weeks ago, really, if you think about it. And that was the bugs eaten alive, because fairies and bugs kind of go together. You know, fairies have insect wings and antennas sometimes, and they flit about, and they also, especially tooth fairies, like sweets and sweet saps and sugars and things, and bugs really like that too. You want to get some ants in your house, spread some sugar around, and they'll show up. You know, it's so there's a connection between the bugs and the fairies that are interesting in a weird way. And so I thought I would do two cocktails that were interrelated, and then thought, well, what the hell, I'll throw Beetlejuice in there also from Halloween Horror Nights 30. But instead, because I don't want to sit here and do a cocktail and then run in the other room and leave this empty space, sitting dead space for 10 minutes. No. So I'm just going to do them one at a time. I can't guarantee I'll have all three of these videos done tonight. I'll probably do one tonight and another one tomorrow, maybe. And a third one someday. I can't guarantee that at all. Hello, Letty. There she is. You can't really see her because it's, you know, she's a black cat with some white on her, but you can't see the... Up here. There she is. You saw just a little corner of the kitty. Here. Come here, Lenny. There's a tail. Come here. Say hello to the nice people, Lenny. Say hello to the nice people, Lenny. Hello, nice people. She hates that. She's going... Oh, she yelled at me. So she's here to say hello to you. Yes, the kitty. Nice kitty. So I'm going to do the Tooth Fairy cocktail for you tonight. And the rest I'll do on a different evening. And hopefully I can catch up with all the remaining houses, both of last year and this year, before the end of this year. But I can't guarantee that because it's already November. So... for the Tooth Fairy, I was thinking something sweet, but also something that evokes the whole idea of the little people, the fair folk, the Shia. Who exactly, what sort of liqueur could I use that would evoke the... Well, how about one that's always been referred to in that sort of terminology? Absinthe. La Fée Verte. The Green Fairy itself. And of all the different types, I decided to pick Mephisto. There's just something wicked about that one. It's just delightful. So, I'm going to take a full measure of that. Where's my... Oh my goodness. I have to run and leave dead space now because I forgot one important item. I forgot the bloody jigger. I'll be right back with my stick. I apologize, I hadn't meant to do that during this video. I tried to take steps to prevent that, and for that very reason, but I forgot this little bastard in the other room. Alrighty then. So we pour some of this fabulous green liqueur into fabled substance that has gotten quite a nasty reputation, totally undeserving. This one fellow in Switzerland had some absinthe and murdered his family. And they said, oh my goodness, it was the absinthe. Except that in addition to the absinthe, he drank several bottles of wine, quite a bit of brandy, and some other beverages. He had so much alcohol that day that it's a wonder he could stand up. He only had one little glass of absinthe, but he had lots and lots of other drinks as well. And then after that, apparently killed his family. And there were all sorts of other reasons why he was, he was psychotic and insane and angry, besides the the one glass of absinthe he had. Somehow the absinthe got blamed for it. It got banned all around the world practically. It was silly. It really didn't need to be. There were all sorts of wild stories, and you know, people wrote books that you would see visions of evil leopards following you around throughout the streets of Paris if you had drank some absinthe. I'm not kidding. Now, to that, fitting with the old classic absinthe cocktail, which had absinthe and you would drip cold water through a sugar cube, we're not doing that, but following up, and of course with the tooth fairies, well, some sugar would be perfect. This is simple syrup. I made a cocktail with simple syrup once before, and the person, one of the people watching the video said, where am I going to get, what is that, like maple syrup you put on pancakes? I said, no, you're silly. Simple syrup is basically sugar water. You can get it in any place where it sells like mixers. Publix, I think that's where I got this, or any liquor store, they should have it available. So a good measure of simple syrup added to the mix. And that alone will probably cause the absinthe to loche, which gets kind of cloudy and sparkly. But I'm going to put something else in this to make it even more different and unique, and that is this liqueur called Luxardo. I might have shown it to you once before, I don't know. Luxardo, it's Italian, and it's maraschino. Now, you've heard of maraschino cherries. Well, the liqueur itself is clear. It's not, but it gives a distinct flavor. I'll put a little bit of that in there, and that will cover up any bitterness from the wormwood that you find in the absinthe. So we have the green fairy tempered with not just the simple syrup, but also Luxardo, which makes it even sweeter. That I will shake in this cocktail shaker. It'll also, the flavor of absinthe often has a sort of licorice flavor, anise sort of flavor. And then into this cocktail glass, I will pour this in here. Let's see what happens. Yes, it did loche. It loached because of the simple syrup, I believe. It's sort of like having sugar water mixed with absinthe when you do the dripping slowly with little drops. That sort of does it quickly, but it did loche into that sort of opalescent, cloudy color that happens when you loche absinthe. But there's also Luxardo in here, so it should be a very different flavor. But one more thing I'm going to add to the cocktail to make it perfect for the little fairies, and that's a maraschino cherry, which also is Luxardo, which is the best type of maraschino cherries. And I'll get one of these and drop it into the and that makes it even sweeter, to give a little bit of candy to a more sophisticated cocktail of absinthe cocktail. But now it mixes. It's sort of like having cherry and licorice whips at the same time, only with quite a bit more. Let's try this bastard. Yes. 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 It's sort of like the classic absinthe cocktail, which is just absinthe water and sugar, but with the addition the addition of the Luxardo and the cherry, the maraschino. That gives it a different complexity. Bittersweet, which is perfect for the house, the bittersweet nature of the house. Now, I don't know if you remember the haunted house, if you've went to it or not, and so a little bit of Horror Nights history, which is part of what this is always about. This house was featured 2 years in a row. It was first designed to be part of Halloween Horror Nights 30, held in 2020. And it was built all ready to go in a sound stage when all of a sudden, well, COVID had already started in March of 2020. So they still came up with the house and built in, you know, those plastic barriers between these characters and the guests, plus having some masks involved. They thought they could do it, but then they finally decided that Horror Nights just probably wouldn't be a good idea in 2020, particularly after they ran into trouble with Billie Eilish, who was supposed to be participating in a haunted house that year. I guess there was some problem with her and her lawyers or whatever. She didn't want to be represented in a horrific way, and it might have had something to do with the company that had taken over a lot of her material, being an arch competitor of Universal's. Won't say who, but you know who I mean. They're not so scary, you know. So, again, that's just speculation and conjecture. I don't know this for an absolute fact, but that had something to do with one of the decisions that might, if they were able to get a new house for that area, which would have been the Shrek Secondary Theater, and they, in the short period of time they had, and then decided, well, we'll just cancel the thing. But the other 9 houses were built, and they were there, and they were ready to go, but they couldn't do the event. So they opened 3 of them to the general public for daylight hours, but for a while it was only 2. The Bride of Frankenstein, which I covered in a previous video, and Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. And then at the last weekend of October, I believe they opened the 3rd one, Beetlejuice. So there were 3 haunted houses that were featured during regular park hours in the year 2020. All 3 of those houses came back for the event that became Halloween Horror Nights 30, held in 2021. So this cocktail then is made to commemorate one of those houses, featured both in 2020 and 2021. During the, what some people call Horror Nights Light, or Horror Days, or whatever you call that year, without a Horror Nights, and the actual event of Halloween Horror Nights 30 held last year. And the color actually fits too, in a weird way, because it's a pale greenish white, and that does fit the color scheme of the actual haunted house, if you recall, in the storybook pages when you first entered. It was all set in this sort of Victorian household, and this little brat named James Westgate, something like that. I may not be the exact name, but something close to that. That I just don't feel like getting up and looking it up right now. I could go check with my dear friend Dr. Google and see what they have to say. Yes, well, an authority on damn near everything. But don't always trust them 100%. And find out for sure, but it was something like that. And the little brat didn't believe it when his governess told him about the little people, the fairies, and he said, scoffed, because he was a little cynic and a little unbeliever. You know what happens to brats like that. Yeah, little bastards. Oh, they don't get anything in their stockings except coal, and sometimes I'll just have, Donner and Blitzen come over and poop right in the stocking. That'll learn them. But basically, he thought he knew better, and he refused to surrender his teeth to the fairies. when he lost his little baby tooth. He thought he'd refuse to surrender it to the fairies. You know, F the fairies, they won't get my teeth. He didn't realize there's an ancient compact between humanity and the creatures of the Seelie court and the unseelie court. You know, the fair folk. There's an ancient compact. They get teeth. They'll pay us for it. They'll pay you for your teeth, but if you're stingy and you don't hand over your teeth, they'll take it out with your flesh and blood. So they wreak havoc and they slaughter all of little Jimmy's entire family. His nanny, who tried to warn him, she doesn't live. Neither do his parents or aunt or uncle or grandmother and all those people. You just go through the house, one scene of utter carnage after another, with sweeties lying all around because, you know, the fairies, tooth fairies, they like food that rot your teeth. And they like food, period. So it's like, especially go through the kitchen area, it's a mess. And the servants, oh my goodness, because little Westlake boy, he's a child of extreme wealth and privilege, which is probably why he was such a little SOB. Not like one of those kind and generous orphans you see in all the Disney movies. Oh no, he's an orphan now, but that's because he got his whole family murdered. Oh. Now, if he survived that, he might have dressed up like a bat and fought crime. But no, the fairies got him, and they did the changeling thing to him, even though he had no family to steal him from and no place to leave a fairy behind in exchange. No, they just took him and they turned him into one of them. And now he is forced to become an eternal creature of the dark, a little bat-winged flitting, horrifying, nasty-visaged creature. Oh, there were some lovely scenes in the house, like when one of the fairies had a dentist drill and was working on the teeth of some of its victims to steal them. What do they want the teeth for, anyway? Who knows? Human teeth could be a valuable currency in fairyland, you know, just like gold or jewels might be to humans. You never know. It could be a very valuable commodity for some reason. I'll have to ask the elves. There is that one little elf who wants to be a dentist. No wonder he wants to be a dentist. Hermie? You thought you could fool me with your dentistry shenanigans. Now I get it. You're just another greedy little bastard. Send them off to the island of misfit toys. Lots of fun, though, and that was the house. Liked it tremendously. So, holiday cheer, even though it did have a sort of Christmassy aspect to it, weirdly enough, even though there was nothing oblique about it to say. But there was just something oddly festive about the, you know, there was like the whole kitchen was full of a festive meal they were going to prepare, and now it's all been ruined by the happy little elves and goblins and sprites. Quite fun. It was rather neat. A bit like, you know, Downton Abbey goes to hell with the rich, you know, servants' quarters and where they worked, and then you go into where the family lives in those rooms. It has that sort of upstairs, downstairs aspect to it, if you're old enough to remember that old British program, which was Downton Abbey, before there was a Downton Abbey, back in the 70s. If you're old as F, like I am, then you know what I mean. How old am I? As old as my ears, a little bit younger than my teeth. Actually, older than my teeth, I should say. So bringing teeth up into it again, those fairies. So here I am. That cocktail worked quite well. It has a sort of bitter edge because of the absinthe, and then the more you drink, the more sicky sweet it becomes, which is just perfect for the theme of the house. So next time I will do the bug house cocktail, the bug eaten alive, and I plan to make a cocktail that's made primarily out of ingredients which insects are involved with one way or another. One of my friends wants me to put some sort of bugs as garnish. If you get a hold of some of those chapalinas, I think they're called the little Oaxacan grasshoppers, I might, but I would want to candy them somehow. I don't know if you can get them candied. I know you can get like a lollipop with a bug in it, but I'd rather, maybe dip it in sugar. The little dried cricket little bugs. And they're very good. They're crunchy, and usually they're served in a way that they have a lot of lime and spice, And at SeaWorld during Halloween, they actually served some in Universal. The closest buggy thing they had for food was a corn dog that, had fake maggots. It was basically some sort of rice or something. It looked quite spooky and terrible, but it was actually delicious as all get out with the cheese and everything. It was quite wonderful, and there was no real bugs involved, but there are bugs that are delicacies in certain parts of the world, like those Oaxacan grasshoppers, and I enjoyed them in tacos that I've had in my life that feature them, but I don't know if it would be appropriate or not. I think I'll skip the bug garnish. I'll just use ingredients, though, that have connections to insects for a very intriguing cocktail that will actually be rather similar and weirdly enough to a Negroni. Until then, cheers. Let's get the little cherry out of there. Nifty. I liked it. All right. So next time, bugs eaten alive. Until then, be nice. And if you're naughty, be nice in the way that you're naughty.